This is Tom's World Beer Tour, a podcast story featuring Tom Bowman and Tom Bradley. Now, crack one open and let the tour begin.
I'm going to be honest, you look like you're drinking Cavassier. I want you to hold that thing.
It does look like it, doesn't it?
It doesn't quite have the stem.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't quite.
You can't finger it correctly?
Whoa.
I understand.
Whoa. Here, I'll switch.
You're gonna switch.
Hey, welcome to Tom's World Beer Tour. We're drinking beers. For those of you listening as a podcast, everywhere you can download podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, all those great places. Don't forget to subscribe so you get the podcast.
And you can watch us on Facebook with video and on YouTube
there,
as well.
Is that better?
Now, that's a little better, yeah.
Is that better?
Cavassier with the ladies' man.
Yeah. So those of you that are watching on YouTube and on Facebook, this looks like a stout.
Yeah, it does.
It's nice and dark. It's got a little froth on top.
I can barely see the light of day through that thing.
But here's the interesting thing. It's Piney River. It is the India Pale Ale Masked Bandit IPA, dark IPA for desperate times.
This is
an IPA. That does not look like an IPA.
The only thing I did, this is a tailgate beer. It's not our conversational beer.
No. We're having a conversation, but we're
I was looking around for something that would pair up well with an attorney, and when I saw a masked bandit for desperate times,
yeah,
I thought of an attorney.
You know, that's also a bad prank that you pull on people. The masked bandit. You don't know this?
No, I don't. Is this?
So if one of your friends,
if
one of your friends passes out, like completely passed out, some people write on their forehead with Sharpies and things like that. No, what you do is you dip your junk.
Oh, for the love of God!
In pudding, and then you put it over their eyes. And when they wake up, they look like a raccoon.
You dip your junk in pudding.
So you in pudding.
No. I don't need you to show me the maneuver.
And then while they're out sleeping, you sort of like,
I guess this is a good question. If you're going to dip your junk in pudding, would you just get a nice little, chalice? A pudding chalice? A pudding chalice? Wait a second.
Wait, the chalice is the nickname for my junk. Now you're confusing me.
Hold on. Would you just get a pudding chalice and bring it to the junk? Or what you just showed me is you were going to get down in a complete vat, like a mixing bowl.
Yeah, like you would make pudding, right? And then it would be like in a stainless bowl, a good size opening.
No. Can I lick the bowl? The answer is
no.
no.
The answer is never.
Where did this come from? What people did you grow up with? What is your background and what's your problem? And if you had psychological temperance on this stuff?
To be clear, the first time I ever heard of this was on a radio show that I listened to.
No, there it goes. That's where everything goes to hell, is on a radio show.
I know.
We do have an attorney.
But I need my mother to understand, never once have I actually pulled this stunt.
Did you ever wake up with dark eyes?
No, I don't fall asleep around my friends. I know better.
I guess that's the thing. We do have an attorney joining us. We have a lawyer on the show today, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And he's going to bring some stories to the table. I don't know if he realizes it, but he will.
Well, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what has transpired in the last 2 weeks with us.
Right. So the last show we did was at Cooper's Landing,
which is on the Missouri River in the heart of Missouri.
With Richard King. Mm-hmm. And one of the stories that we told was Richard King, his life after retirement was buying Cooper's Landing, the area down by the river. And 2 days after he closed way back when, there was a big flood.
Yeah.
That destroyed a bunch of stuff. So that was his hey, I'm now an owner of this place, and now it's underwater.
My welcome to the land ownership on the river moment.
So then that's Wednesday. Saturday is Missouri Beer Fest, your event that went off on the river. I saw a lot of pictures. I was flying that day.
Yeah.
Looked great. Hot weather, but you're on the river. Looked like everybody had a good time.
Great time.
All right.
Great time.
No problem with shuttles. Everybody was happy.
Well, we can talk about that a little bit. I don't want to get in the heart of it.
Yeah,
and you went on a vacation. Let's do Beer Fest, and I'm going to hear about your vacation.
Yeah, please.
Just a real quick recap on the Beer Festival. I think we had pushing 700 people total out there. That's everybody. That's
at
everybody.
The river.
At the river.
Wow.
Temperature was maintained reasonable. There was a breeze from 10 to 20 miles an hour all day coming directly off the water into us. I felt like I was at Navarre Beach in the panhandle of Florida.
Was there a tent issue at all with that kind of wind?
Only the piece of crap one that I bought and tried to set up with the family. And we had 3 of them. And it took us 45 minutes to set up the first. And halfway through it, I think somebody said, I don't think we're going to do all 3. And by the time we were 2/3 of the way through it, then our foreman, Ashley, said, we're not setting up anymore.
Well, if
so
I remember,
I've got 2 tents for sale.
if I remember correctly, these aren't easy up tents.
No.
These are, you got to put poles in.
It's
and
fuck
all
you
that.
up tents. That's what
That's
they are.
exactly what they
and
are.
I'll tell you what happened as we're setting it up. I said, I believe I know what one of the other tents is going to do. We've taken some things to a campground that we go to, and you stay for a whole weekend. They're cheap stuff, but they're fun. Like it might be a floaty or like a pop-up bar you build, and you sit out there and have a good time with it. It goes in the trash can, and you don't take it home.
Right, exactly.
And I said, one of these tents is going to the trash can, and we're not taking it home.
Right.
The end of the beer festival, that one tent we set up went into the trash can. There was
So
no salvaging.
3 to 7 was public.
Yeah, 3 to 7, yes, it was.
So when you were done, I volunteered before. I felt bad I didn't volunteer this year because I was on an airplane. Did it feel better, worse, or the same from doing it indoors, which we've done for a number of years?
Actually, the outdoors felt great. The only thing different is that we were at a different location with different responsibilities of ourselves. Because when you go to a banquet facility, you got all these little penguins that come out and start setting everything up.
If you need an extra table, you go, hey, man, can I get another table?
And we dropped a glass and broke it, and a little guy comes like, sweeps it up, and he's gone.
Correct.
We were doing everything. That was really the only difference. Cooper's Landing was magnificent. And then you got the shuttles that we did. I don't want to go into it for the people that aren't around here, but we bussed everyone down to a location on a river and then back to their city.
Really, because there's not a lot of parking down there. That's really the reason you shuttled.
Nowhere near enough.
But
for
the
this.
easy way to get there is not available because right outside of my neighborhood is where the roadblock is, and 50 yards in front of that is where the turn is.
So then I'll also tell you that the drivers found out that it wasn't working very well, their plan. So they wound up for the majority of the day driving through your neighborhood.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Oh, that
which
made
I
my
told them
neighbors
we wouldn't try to do. But
yeah, it is.
hey, man,
I was
happens.
gone.
But it was a successful beer festival. And then
Good.
really, there's a lot of people that put their beer into it, and they can't be there to pour. So we also volunteer to pour if they would like us to.
Right.
Or a distributor might be pouring. It's a real gift to have the People's Choice winning beers with the brewers actually there.
Right.
Both second place and first place were on site.
Nice.
And so it was really great to award them their trophies and see that happen. Okay, so while we were doing...
Who won, by the way?
the winner of second place went to Burr Oak Brewing and a beer that's been around for a while, Clyde's Caramel Cream Ale.
Which we've had on the show. It was a conversational beer.
That's right, with our friend Dan from
nice.
Burr Oak. And number one, first place, opened their doors in March of... what year was it? 2021.
Is this Jeff City?
Last Flight Brewing.
Another conversational beer at Barnhouse.
And the Schwartz beer is the one that won. And the first time I drank it, I was like, "You bitch, you hit that thing on the money." That is exactly what that beer should be.
And those guys, you showed up, you got a growler. They couldn't take credit cards yet, and they said, "Hey, man, we'll get you next time."
I'll growl. I took like 5.
Yeah, and they said, "We'll get you next time."
We'll get you next time. And they didn't know me from Adam.
No,
I told them I was
your
Adam.
name's not Adam.
Obviously, they didn't know us at all.
Wow.
So it was good. So both of them won.
I'm gonna say, if you want to win at a beer fest, you let us have you as the conversational beer,
and that helps.
and that helps.
Well, I'm not going to say you're
So
paving the ground.
for those of you around the country who love a craft beer, know a craft beer in your area, you happen to be a craft beer company.
Yeah.
Tom's World Beer Tour at gmail.com. Hit us up. We will feature your beer as a conversational beer, and you'll probably have the luck of going in and winning a contest
That'd
somewhere.
be a beautiful thing. Tell me about California, and if you want to save some of this for our conversation with the attorney, that's
No.
fine also.
I'll give you the 30.
Maybe somebody screwed you and you want to file a
No.
lawsuit.
I'll give you a 30,000-foot view. So we
Did you trip? Did you fall? Did you hurt your knee?
It was great.
Okay.
Nope. All safe. I use him for other things.
Okay.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
He's my attorney in some other things.
Good.
So I'm just saying, full disclosure.
Okay.
Good attorney.
So
glad I'm not against him.
I can't retain him to sue you.
Not for this show.
Crap.
Because I've already retained him.
Screw this.
And he lives next door, so it
right,
helps.
good.
All right, so go to California, blah, blah, blah. We ended up in Napa Valley 3 separate days. Did a day where we just went to 2 of our favorite places and enjoyed the day. The second day, got a private tour at what is officially known as the Mizzou Winery, because Carl Ebbison, who's the CFO of Groth, went to Mizzou.
Okay.
He also says Missouri because he's down from the boot.
Okay.
So he says Missouri. And Norm Stewart, tons of coaches, former players have all gone out there to visit Carl Ebbison because it's sort of the Mizzou winery. So if you're a Mizzou fan and you love wine and you're in the Napa Valley.
So you've been there before.
Yeah, I've had a private tour with him, friend of a friend. And this time our wine Sherpa, Chandra, who's a big listener to the show, who brought us all those Deschutes during the Mini Beer Fest, she sets up all of our tastings. She lived in St. Helena growing up. Her parents live in St. Helena. She's our Sherpa. She's our wine Sherpa. I felt so bad. She finds us all these great places to go, and we build relationships at these wineries. I wanted to take her someplace she had never gone, and a cool, like, behind-the-scenes tour.
Right.
So that's exactly what she got. So we went to Groth, and it was phenomenal. And then, of course, I'm buying bourbon at liquor stores because allocations in California are different than here, and I get bottles out there that I can't find here at better prices. So I have a handful of people who I text as I'm shopping. The lawyer's one of them. And I say, hey, man, Heaven Hill 7-year bottled in bond on the shelves. There's 5 of them. They're $54.99. Who wants one? And then I get orders taken.
And he jumps in on this thing.
He does. I brought back, now mind you, 5 of these bottles I got at Costco in St. Louis on my way home. So I didn't have to haul them back. I brought back 27 bottles.
Bitch, you're a bootlegger.
You
really are.
I am.
Is there a limit to what you can bring back?
No, because
state lines?
no, not to Missouri. And I have 2 12-bottle carriers that check in as luggage on Southwest because there are 12 bottles in this.
So I said, this wasn't all spirits. Some was wine.
No, I brought back 27 bottles of whiskey.
Good Lord, man.
5 of them I bought in St. Louis. So I really flew 22 of them home.
Did you bring wine back also?
A handful of wine, but most of the time we ship the wine. So we bought a couple cases of wine that are being shipped because it's easier.
I'm worried about the plane getting off the damn ground the way you pack crap in there.
So,
good God, man.
For those of you that are listening, imagine what 27 bottles on your bar looks like when you just lay them out. For those of you that are, I'll show you that real quick. I think I sent this to you.
Well, you did.
So that's what 27 bottles on my bar looks like.
Jesus.
Isn't that crazy? And they're all like laid out by types.
Are you making a profit off this thing?
I absolutely make zero profit.
Come on, man.
Nope. In fact, I send a note that says.
Look, just tell me. Nobody else is listening.
Listen, he bought a bottle that was.
Reasonable markup on
He bought a bottle that was $55.99. It's an $80 bottle that was $55.99.
At least charge him the 80 then.
61 because there's tax. So they pay for the tax. I don't want to lose money.
Why don't you at least tell them taxes are higher in these other states?
It's 8%, man. I rounded it.
No, you're in Alaska. It's got an 83% tax.
So, but I have to tell you one quick story.
Yes.
And this is a guy who I think is going to be a great guest in the future. So in December, we actually went out for right around mid-December for Christmas and went to a winery for the first time called Caldwell Vineyards.
Okay.
John Caldwell in the 80s smuggled French grapes, like vines, into the Napa Valley.
In his pants.
In shoeboxes.
I was close. All
right. And
Lower
sort of
extremities.
started that whole French, Burgundy, and then eventually there was California came to terms with the French on licensing and all this. But the man smuggled shit over, right? Started a really great winery. It's called Caldwell Vineyards. It's phenomenal. It's in a cave, like 600 feet above the Napa Valley. They've carved it out of a rock. It's unbelievable. I mean, we enjoyed it so much. Well, when we went last time, you typically go to a tasting, and the ones we like are where we have one host the whole time, and they're with you, and they're talking about the wines. And if you show an interest, the 6 wines that are on the tasting turn into 9, 10, 11 bottles of tasting because you have interest and you're buying bottles.
Right.
So we've done this tour. So when we did it last time, the gentleman who was doing the tasting introduces himself, and he tells us his story. At 19 years old, he lived in the Napa Valley. He got a job at a cooperage. So a cooper is somebody who builds barrels. A cooperage builds barrels, wine barrels, whiskey barrels, whatever. There's a place in Napa that builds barrels for wineries. It's great. He starts working there, and after some time, they realize he's got something, some skills, some sense, something. And they offer to send him to France, to Cognac, France, where he goes through the Master Cooper program that takes 4 years to become a Master Cooper.
This sounds like something in a Kill Bill volume where it's like the 4 years begins with, this is the stick. Ow!
Yeah.
Hit it again. Ow!
How about this? The 4 years where you're there, no power tools.
Yeah, because why would you want that?
All by hand. You're learning the barrels and what wood makes great barrels and how this works and how you seal it with no sealant, right? When you make a barrel,
You sneak off to the dorm. You got a Black & Decker drill under your bed.
so when he's 20 years old, he goes over there. 40 people, including himself, start the 4 years.
Yeah.
2 finished.
Because it's just hell is all it is.
So as we sit right now, there are 34 master coopers in the entire world. 34.
And he's one of them.
He's one of them. Most of them are in Italy, France, and Scotland. He's the only one in the United States, and he's the only one of Mexican descent.
The only one in the U.S.
Only master cooper.
It makes me want to go to. Where did you say? Cognac, France? France?
Cognac, France.
It makes me want to go there for
He
4
goes
years.
out every year for
and get beat with a damn stage.
He goes out every year for 2.5 months, except last year with COVID, and does a bunch of things like make sure the barrels are being built, goes out to pick the trees for 3 years from now that will be turned into the wood to make the barrels.
You don't think there's any overkill? Okay, I'm sorry. That's,
We're going to bring him on as a guest. What I love about him is that he drops F-bombs every other word.
I'm going to ask him the same question. Dude, come on.
So while we were out there, I'd heard a rumor that they are distilling.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the story, and he said, well, yeah, John Caldwell is getting barrels from his favorite distilleries in Kentucky.
Yes.
And we're blending these 4 together. And then I'm taking new French oak barrels, and I'm toasting them in a way to impart extra flavor. And then they go in those barrels for a while. And eventually, we'll have the license and the labels to sell them.
Well, I will tell you that I'm in the middle of reading Pappy Land right now, which is a brand new book I was given for Father's Day, and I'm really enjoying it. What do you have in your hand?
This, my friends, is something I probably shouldn't have. You'll see there's a Sharpie signature right there.
Okay.
That's Ramiro Herrera signed it. He mixed this batch for me. Not mixed it, but he got it from their barrel.
Yeah.
Bottled it for me. This is illegal.
What do you mean it's illegal?
There's no licensing for this. They don't have their license yet to sell this.
Don't tell everybody on here.
Well, they don't know.
They know. They know. If you're honest, they know. It's not something you can do.
Yeah, it's great. Pappy Land.
Do you have it also?
Yeah.
Did you read it?
Not yet. I heard
Did you read it? We're going to talk about this thing.
So let me give you the last part about John Caldwell. Back in sometime early on, it might have been the 90s, he was hosting a bunch of people at his place, and people from Texas are in, and John's like, F, 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 F. At the end, the guy from Texas said, you know what we would call you in Texas, John Caldwell? We'd call you John fucking Caldwell. In a nice way.
Okay.
John goes home that night and tells his wife, this guy says my nickname is John fucking Caldwell. I really like that. And she goes, well, I guess that makes me Mrs. fucking Caldwell.
Oh, wow.
So guess what he's known in the Valley as? John fucking Caldwell, JFC.
Nice. Nice.
So we'll hear more about these guys in the future.
I like it all the way through. I like it all the way through. I'd love to have him on the show.
He's going to come on. The guy is Ramiro's hilarious.
And I would like to do some venturing off into some wines and some more whiskeys too as we move on.
This guy's
it is
a great
time
guest.
to move on to a conversational beer, and then the person we're going to enjoy that conversational beer with. This is the piece of music you're supposed to be hearing some trombone with.
He's on now.
But you're telling me that you can play the trumpet?
I can play the trumpet. I got to tell you, if you want to make an attorney anxious, don't let me talk for 20 freaking minutes. And this guy, he says,
wasn't 20. It's 1851.
Let me tell you a short story.
Oh, there's no short story.
No such thing.
Why are you leaning in so far?
You have to do that. You got to do that though in like depositions and stuff. You got to like wait for people to talk, and you got to sit there forever and be like.
That's the best part.
And you're writing down notes like they're full of crap.
I don't take any notes. I look at them.
Tyson Mutrux is our guest today, and that's going to bring on a lot of discussion. He's an attorney. By the way, it's not Mutrux Law Firm. It's Mutrux Firm.
Mutrux Firm.
Did
Injury
your wife
lawyers.
name that?
Okay, so you want the story?
Wait, do you say
I'll give you the
tricks or
story.
trucks? Do you say tricks or trucks?
Tricks.
Mutrux.
Mutrix.
You want the story?
No, not until we get a beer.
Okay, I like that idea.
Do you need a paper towel or something
I
to
need
get the condensation off of that?
You worried about your bar?
No, I'm worried about you dripping it everywhere. I don't know where the paper towels are.
I got to tell you, there's
do
so
need
many
an
times I
opener.
wanted to jump in. By the way, when you were talking, I wanted to jump in so many times. I just couldn't.
No,
You had
that's
me
the
muted.
beauty of it.
You were muted, and now you're here. I got the Masked Bandit, which is a dark IPA.
Not the prank. You actually had the beer.
For desperate times, and I thought for some people that would be
In desperate times, the prank is
yeah.
available.
That might be good for but what I
I
wanted to
finished
find
mine. It
something
was
with
delicious.
a serious note, and I went for what attorneys are always trying to sell or find.
Bullshit.
No.
Oh.
The dark truth.
The
dark truth. This is from Boulevard out of Kansas City. This is an Imperial Stout. Wow. Now, when you saw IPA earlier, you weren't really happy about that. Yeah. But we may want to decant this into separate little glasses for each one of us. No, we have many. I just mean we may want to pour these off.
Okay, I don't have pint glasses down here, so we can use these big.
No, that's perfect. Those are perfect.
All right, we can.
What are those? 10 ounces?
I don't know.
8.5.
Big
8.35.
Big giant Glencairns. By the way, you know what they call a bus full of lawyers that goes over a bridge and they drown?
Good luck.
A good start.
Good start.
Oh, wah, wah.
How many lawyer jokes have you heard in your life?
They're not as often as you might think. I mean, I love hearing them. That was a lame.
You're hanging out with lawyers.
That was a lame one.
That was a lame one.
That was a.
Do you get together with your lawyer friends and tell jokes about it?
No, I was at a conference once, and this guy.
Are lawyers friends with each other?
Yeah, they are.
Well, sometimes. No, I was at a conference once, and this guy gets up and he's like, "I want to tell you all." I don't want to hear any lawyer jokes because it diminishes the profession. We're all kind of like, well, this guy needs to lighten up. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, lighten up, Francis.
Like, Jesus Christ.
That's exactly.
Touch any of my stuff, I'll kill you.
You're pouring it off
this
now.
is
Can I give some legal advice to you, Tomboy?
Yeah.
By the way?
Yeah.
Never go on a recording and say that you've done something illegal.
I didn't do anything illegal.
Okay, it's just not a good idea.
It was nothing illegal. It was for effect for this show. You know,
you don't need to pour my beer.
No, I was trying to be a nice
You're
guy.
not my bitch, and I'm not yours.
You got that right.
Let's separate the lines.
I missed you. I missed you for the week, though.
I appreciate.
I did post a picture for those on our Facebook page of what Barbecue Matt and I were working on last week while we were researching. We had Martha fired up. It was a good day.
This is going to be kind of tasty.
It is tasty.
I want to tell you.
No.
Did you already take a taste?
No.
Jeez.
No, I did
you
not.
You can't count on an attorney.
He's a lawyer. He's going to lie.
Keep everybody in mind during this.
No, he's out. No, he's out. He's on his own.
All right. Love you both.
All right,
yeah,
here we
whatever.
go. Take a taste of this.
Dude, that's amazing.
Take two. This is delicious. This is great.
That's really good.
Boulevard, our friends at Boulevard.
Oh,
with
no, there's
Dark Truth Imperial
There's
Stout.
a few more in there if we need more.
Dun, 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 dun.
Tell me about you are. Can I ask your age?
Can you guess my age? And
He's young compared to us.
You were 38 and 3/4.
Nailed it. 38 in a couple months. February.
Wow.
Few
Really?
Months. Yeah.
So you're 37 and
No, I'm 38.
16.
38 in 4 months.
38 and 4 months.
Oh, okay.
I gave him an extra 4 months.
I thought you said 38 in 4 months.
No,
And
and
so-
4 months.
But tell me about passing the bar. Is it like terrifying?
Well, it's required.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the movies I see.
well,
Sometimes
you know-
people are doing it without passing the bar.
They prepare you so much. Like law school doesn't, but you take these bar prep courses where they just stuff like your brain full of stuff for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then day one was terrifying, but once you're done with day one, you're like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought. It's the
Is that
unknown.
where they pants you? Because that's the scariest part. Is you wind up naked. and
Well,
you're
no,
in
that
there.
doesn't happen. But
Did you pass it the first time?
I did, and I got my score was high enough where I waved into the Illinois bar, which was
What's
great.
the percentage of people that pass it the first time?
That year? I think
Less
it was
than half?
I think that no, it's way higher than that.
Oh.
No. It's like that year was like in the upper 80s or low 90s.
But this is like
It's
the
really
Missouri bar, not like the California bar.
California's
or New York
way
bar.
no, those are way harder. Yeah,
Oh,
those are like 4 days long. Ours is
So
2
really,
days.
you're a lawyer here, but
Why?
You know.
Why?
I don't know.
Because they're full of crap. You said you passed and your score was so high. Illinois said you're good here too.
Yeah, so the way it works, you still have to take the multiple choice, the essay part of it.
I was
So
gonna
for
say multiple
Illinois-
choice.
Yeah,
I'll nail that.
No, that was the hardest part.
No.
The hardest part was the multiple choice.
Essay you could bullshit.
Essay, you can bullshit. You've nailed it. That's what you can do. So the Illinois bar, this is actually a funny story. So
I hope so.
yeah, for me, it's a funny story. So admin law is this bullshit. Like you think of anytime you're dealing with a state agency, that's admin law, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's never on the bar exam, never on the Missouri bar exam, never on the Illinois bar exam. But it's a topic that they might test you on. So I didn't test. I did not take any law school classes on admin law. I had no intentions to go into admin law. Didn't study for it for the bar. So didn't have it on the Missouri bar. So Illinois, I have to do the essay. And I open up the booklet, and you kind of flip through to see what the topics are. The second topic was fucking admin law.
Oh god.
And by the way, I knew I could cuss because I was hoping I was going to be the first explicit episode for you all, but apparently every one of them is. Cause
No, I have to list the entire
he's
series
the
as
first one
explicit.
to drop the F-bomb.
No.
He couldn't win.
Ah,
He
man.
couldn't win.
Yeah.
That's all right, but you used it appropriately just
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
It's
so,
the second one.
So you used bullshit to get through it?
Oh, absolutely. You say, well, and it's funny. Like they teach you Barbary is one of the main courses. They teach you
Barbary, isn't it like a barber school?
no BARBRI. I don't know what it stands for, but they
wait, you were taught that, but you don't know what it stands
no
for?
no. What they teach you is they say, hey, if you don't know the answer, just say you'll look it up. So you go through, you give an analysis as best you can. You say, when in doubt, I'll just look it up because that's what you do. That's what you do.
You have to.
You have to look it up all the time.
Because I look at law and a lawyer, and I think they're separate. They're very, very separate. A very good lawyer and one who achieves success and winds up with a lot of jack and a lot of clients and a lot of people working for him or her, you got to know where to find the right answers. You got to know how to make the moves, the maneuvers, right?
Yeah.
That's a lawyer. Law, which I know you guys can see as being a lot of gray area, and it is, but it's explicitly written down somewhere.
Not necessarily. I mean, so you have.
Hold on now.
Yes.
It's written down somewhere. Somebody has
Sort
this.
of. Sort
There
of.
are law books.
There are.
You think that everything is like
Don't
black
you have
and
a
white,
bunch
right?
of leather-bound books in
I
your
do
office?
not. I do
You
not.
should.
We've got the internet now.
Smells like
Tom
great.
Boy.
It smells like
It's a
delicious
leather-bound
mahogany.
internet.
Yeah,
monitor.
leather-bound internet. You would think that everything is like crystal clear in like a book, and it must be this. It's not that at all.
That's because you're going through
yeah.
precedent.
Yeah, you have statutes. Things are codified, right? And statutes and regulations.
Codified.
You like that word? I had to throw that in.
I
there
think
for you.
every time he
Codified.
throws out a $7 word, we have to drink, and we're going to be
Okay.
so
okay.
hammered.
All
by
right,
the
cool.
end of this.
Codified. Okay.
That's a and just yell out $7 word whenever you feel
All
like
right, that's
we need
fine.
to
Deal.
drink.
That's fine.
Deal.
All right.
And then you have case law too. But here's the thing: for every one topic, there's 1,000 different cases on it that say different things, right? So you're twisting words, you're arguing.
Yeah, but
things.
that's back over to the case law. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a statute that's written out. It's in
Not
black
for everything,
and white.
though.
What
That's
do
the
you
thing.
mean not for
There's
everything?
not. There's not. So a lot of the rules that we use for different cases are from the case law. It's not in a statute. It's actually in a case.
But the statute is written down.
Yes, that the statute gives like for example, like a negligence.
So the
case.
statute is just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. It's exactly right.
And then it grows into some web of crap out there.
Not always crap. I mean, it's usually pretty good, but there's a lot of there's some
all right,
crap
how about
out
this?
there
How about
too.
this? It grows into a crappy web.
It goes into a web that you wish it was like, okay, I wish this was crystal clear.
But you
Yeah.
wouldn't try the same type of case the same way 2 times
Absolutely
in a row.
not. No.
Because it's not necessarily about proving or disproving what's case law. It's about that situation and can I get this jury to think X or Y? It's more of it's more like poker. Like people that are great poker players
Yeah.
aren't playing the cards. They're playing the people around the table.
Yeah, but sooner or later you got to be dealt a decent
no,
hand.
you have to. But you can also you're looking for tendencies. You're looking for personality
Yeah,
traits, things like that.
Have you been dealt some decent hands? Talk to us.
I have a lot of the cases.
Dude, he put a
that-
pool in
yes,
last
yes.
year.
Yeah, I
He got
know.
dealt a
Yeah,
good
I
hand.
know.
He put a
Bam.
pool in for
Woo!
God's sakes.
You can twist things a little bit and fit them. Like I'll give you an example. Like where you're talking about like doing the same case over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this case. This is a criminal case. Whenever I did criminal back in the day, years ago. Like this was
No
like,
money in
this is like-
criminal. Come on.
There's not. But 8 years ago
Great
though,
stories, though.
a lot of cash. But yeah, 8 years ago. So
Did I mention he put a pool in last year?
yeah, that's exactly right. So so here's the setup. I'm gonna give you the setup. This is all public stuff. I'm not violating anything. So the client is standing outside of a Domino's, right? The Domino's delivery driver is about to go deliver a delivery, and they thinks he's about to be robbed, so they call the police.
They assume they're going to get robbed?
Yes, so they call the police.
Profiling.
Client then runs back. He's dressed in all black. He's wearing a do rag over his head, like over his head, right?
Profiling. Profiling.
So, but he runs to his car, and there's a dispute as to what happens after that. But he jumps in his car. There's a gun is found under the seat, and they basically think he's going to rob the place, but they can't prove it, right? But they charge him with unlawful use of a weapon, UUW, right? Because he's not licensed to carry a firearm concealed. That's in a gist what it is.
Okay.
So we tried the first case, and honestly, they had him dead to rights. But we got a hung jury 8 to 4 our way. 4 people held on for guilty. But we were lucky, right? So we retried the case like 6 months later because it was a mistrial, and the prosecutor thought we were going to put on the exact same case.
Oh,
and
no.
she did. And we completely changed everything, and she was blindsided.
Well, you also learned things from the first
absolutely.
So wait a
It's like a
second.
focus group.
She can't dance with that thing. It's like she's like, oh.
She was so thrown off. It was,
Really?
She was reeling for the entire
case. I
trial.
bet she doesn't do that anymore.
Was he going to rob the place? He was going to get a large Domino's with pepperoni.
Onions and olives.
Yeah.
I'll say this.
That's what I would like right now.
Listen, he never told me that he was going to rob the place.
You didn't ask him?
I didn't ask him, but I will. I mean,
Have you had a client tell you something in confidence, in client lawyer privilege, whatever the hell you call that, that you were like, I wish you wouldn't have told me that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So when you first walk in, when you meet them, and they say hi, and you're like, shh.
No, and
You had me at.
attorneys have different perspectives on this. I would prefer to know just because, or I mean, I don't do criminal anymore, right? So I do personal injury. That's all.
Some
I
would
do.
say what you do is criminal.
That's true. That's
I'm just saying,
they
you're an
would.
injury
No,
attorney.
absolutely.
I want to
Absolutely.
get into what you're doing now, but
Yeah.
but criminal law is interesting.
No, it's really fascinating stuff. It
Well,
really is.
why? None of us want to be robbed. None of us want somebody breaking our house while we're out doing something and they're catting around in there. We don't want our car stolen. We don't want people accosted, assaulted, hurt. And yet we all kind of go, oh, what's going on?
And none of them ever happen like the procedurals you see on television.
No, and
Ever.
You know what's fascinating about it is 90%. I'm not exaggerating. It's not all like the repeat criminals, right? The 90% of it is some person that screwed up one time in their life. And that's the fascinating part about it. It's like you're like, okay, you are a salesman for a really good company, and let's say you got a DWI and smoked someone, like you rear-ended them, like, but you were drunk, like that's like.
And so it's like the first time
That
they've
sounds
done
way
anything,
too close to home. That's a horrible
they've done
example.
anything wrong. But I've talked to judges that say that 80 to 95% of the people coming through, like for instance, it's all drug related.
Drugs, alcohol, guns.
Yeah.
That's the majority of it.
Good times.
All the really
Yeah.
fun
That's
shit.
really
dude.
fun.
I mean,
You got to have that.
Drugs, alcohol,
it's a
guns.
party until it's not. I'm just saying.
Warren Zevon, what was the song? Lawyers, Guns, and Money?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, very
yeah.
very similar. And I did a lot of this stuff in the city of St. Louis.
Right.
Like that's whenever I was doing criminal defense. So
Yeah.
you have a lot of city of
So
St. Louis
fast
stuff.
forward, what takes you to injury? Because once again, as an injury attorney, I can tell you what people think, right?
Oh, they think
People
ambulance
think
chasers, all like
In
absolutely.
fact,
Yeah.
somebody today asked me, who's on the show today? And I said, my friend Tyson, who's a lawyer, an injury lawyer. Oh, ambulance chaser. I go, a little higher level than an ambulance chaser.
They walk after them.
Well, and here's
you
what-
don't hang out
yeah.
in hospitals.
No. And I think there is a difference between an ambulance chaser firm and what we do.
You mean the
Meaning-
ones we see on television?
Meaning
Absolutely.
that they're out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they literally chase ambulances, but I mean, there have been rumors.
But the ones that we
yeah.
see on television, those guys are trying to take advantage of a small situation on a super multi-state scale because of some little tiny thing that they're going to exploit.
Yes, but if we can get into this too, this is interesting because like you look at the different business models, right? Like our business model is high profit margins, but we take a lot of high risk, right? Where we spend a lot of money on our cases.
You're swinging for the fences.
For example, a med mal case could cost me $50,000.
I'm sorry, what case?
Med mal, medical malpractice.
Thank
Med
you.
mal.
You slow down.
By the way,
Thank
by the
you.
way, let me-
That's a drink. He said
Yes,
med mal.
med mal,
That's
yeah,
a drink.
Med mal
Yeah,
drink.
yeah.
By the way, let me
Med mal.
remind you,
Yes.
as you hear all these stories, man put a pool in last year.
So
He's raising a family.
yes, I've got 3 kids, man. I gotta.
His wife always has a
lots of
smile.
enjoyment. Absolutely.
He has
Yeah.
a pool.
That's other reasons.
He built
Yeah,
a
I
pool.
know.
So that could cost out of my own pocket $50,000 to $150,000, right? Out of my own
Right.
pocket. But there's a high risk, high reward with that.
Sure.
With these, I'll call them volume firms is what I'll call them, not really ambulance chaser firms. They spend a lot of money on marketing, right? And I know this because I used to work for one 10 years ago.
Call the injury
Yeah,
line.
exactly.
888, blah, blah, blah.
They have to turn these cases faster, so they've got to settle them, and a lot of times they settle them for bottom dollar.
And they're trying to settle. They don't want to go to court.
Not at all.
They
and
wanna
I
settle.
can tell
They
you,
would like to settle it with the use of one letter. We're going to write
yeah.
one letter.
it's not as quite easy. I know a
they'd-
lot of people
but they
say
would
that.
love that.
They
They'd
would
love
love to. Absolutely.
A letter goes out, and 3 months later there's a settlement, much less than probably what the plaintiff would deserve. I mean, plaintiff, was that the right?
That's right. You nailed it. Yeah.
Plaintiff would deserve, but they're willing to move faster through it, take their cut, and then move on.
They do less investigation on it. They usually they want a cookie cutter case, so car crash case, rear ender is what they prefer. They wouldn't want a fall case, like a slip and fall kind
But
of
truly,
a case.
there are probably some people that it works out great for them because they're like barely maybe going to be able to do anything, but because of that firm, they're able to get the $15,000.
Well, here's the reality. Some of these smaller cases, it's better off for the person to not have a lawyer, right? It's better off for them to
Seriously.
go to the doctor. They went to the ER. They're fine. Settle on your own. It's way better for them because they get more money and their bills are paid.
What would they be giving to the big firms? What are they signing over 50%?
No, about a third.
33.
Yeah, 33 and a third.
It's typically that.
Yeah, and our percentage is higher, but I know what other firms get, and what we get for clients is higher. It just is.
Yeah.
And I know that because of maximum
You're
lawyer.
But
saying-
you're more
you're saying-
selective. You're selective.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're
Yeah.
saying, listen, yes, I'm going to take a bigger cut, but I'm going to get you more, so your cut's going to be bigger than if you went to these guys.
And we're not allowed to promise that, obviously.
No,
But
of course not.
We can.
I'm in a unique position where I see other firms' data, and I can actually see what they get
Once
and what they
again,
don't get.
he put in a pool last summer next door. I watched it happen.
Can I mention why that is, though, with Max Law?
Why you put a pool in?
No, not that.
Oh.
But why I see other people's data, because I think it's important.
Yeah, please.
Because
Do you
I've
feel
got-
like you're on trial right now?
No, not at all. I love this stuff. I enjoy this stuff. We can talk about this all day.
Finish this.
We don't
and
have
I-
all day. We
Finish
got
this.
like an
and
hour.
I want to share something about
Yeah.
you. So finish this.
So I've got this group called Maximum Lawyer, and we've got a conference and a podcast and all that. So
Would you like to promote your podcast?
I mean, I don't.
Go ahead.
Maximum Lawyer podcast. It's listen
it
to
out.
it. It's fine.
There you
It's,
go. Yeah.
But I get to see inside of other people's firms. Like they pay us to actually look inside their firms, and so I get to see what their data is, and we run off a lot of data because that's what these insurance companies do. So we track everything. I can tell you, our fees are about double or triple sometimes what these bigger firms are.
Wow.
I mean, it's
But you're getting
a massive difference.
Bigger returns for your clients.
And that's the point. Absolutely.
Have you ever had one where you knew slam dunk, this is going to be great, it's going to be X, and it didn't come through?
Not an injury case. No.
Another reason to call him.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting question, though. But there have to be
Is
some.
your hat clearly in the camera there? Just lean your head down. There
Yeah,
you go. There's the
yeah,
marketing. Yeah, there.
There have to be some where you didn't know it was going to be a slam dunk, and you
Absolutely.
question whether you should take it or not. Can you tell us, obviously, without telling us a municipality, a company involved
Sure.
with it, a person involved with it, can you give us an idea of what the problem was that the person had in their life that came to you, and you're like, I don't think we can make this happen?
Like an insurance company who doesn't represent the insured well enough, and they don't settle, and it causes
Yeah.
lawyers to get involved. Those kind of cases.
So that's something called it's like yeah.
Yes.
I gotta be very careful. That's what I say from now on.
That's right.
No, I will give an example. It's usually something like that where I'm gonna throw out a term, bad faith, drink.
Uh-huh.
That's not a $7 word.
It's
Bad
not.
faith is not.
It's
no.
a legal term, though. Okay.
No,
okay,
it's not
okay.
about legal terms. It's about these concocted $7 words.
Okay.
You're sitting in a bar one night, you say bad faith. It's like, we get you.
Do you
go
know what
on.
it means?
Anything that you're acting in bad faith.
Okay. When it comes to
It means you're
insurance
being a
companies.
dishonest bastard.
Okay, and that's what these insurance companies do, right?
Right. That
So-
it didn't call for a drink.
So as do you? I'm not going to ask who insures you, but let's say it's State Farm insures you, right?
Let's say that.
Let's
say
say
I
they-
got a guy with
I
khakis and a
don't
red
have
shirt.
State Farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say you rear end somebody and you
Okay,
and
now.
you really mess them up. And they're seriously injured.
Right.
They get a lot of injuries, and let's say you've got $100,000 policy. Hopefully you have more than that, but let's say
Right.
you do. If your insurance company doesn't pay whenever they should,
Right.
that's called bad faith, right? Or if they don't investigate it properly, bad faith.
They made a promise. They didn't come through.
and they didn't. It's a contractual agreement. They've
Sure.
got a duty to place your financial interests above their own.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
So what happens sometimes is they don't do that. We say, okay, we're no longer going after the policy limit. So let's say it's $100,000. Say, Tom Bradley, I want $500,000 because your insurance company didn't pay it, and I'm gonna send you a letter directly.
This is a little bit like the McDonald's deal where the woman just wanted somebody to pay for her medical expenses when she got burned by the coffee. And not to put McDonald's on this thing, but it was the fast food chain said, no, we're not going to take care of that. That's when it got real.
It did, and that's. I'm glad you phrased that the way you did, because a lot of people think that the McDonald's coffee case is about this greedy woman that wanted a bunch of money.
I mean, it made a good Seinfeld episode down the road.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
phenomenal.
She wasn't driving the car. She was in the passenger seat. They pulled the vehicle over. She put the coffee in her lap. The manager of that store wanted to have a reputation in town of having the hottest coffee around. It was like double what McDonald's recommended it. There were all these things. Like, she had these awful burns that went all the way from her thigh all the way back to her rear. It was awful.
Ow.
Yeah. She had to have skin grafts. She was in the hospital for a month and a half.
Yeah.
There's all these facts that people don't know about with that. But it's similar to that, where they should have just paid that. This is a little bit different, where let's take the big companies out of it. Let's take like McDonald's out of it, because they've got an unlimited amount of money. We're more talking about like the individual, where they have no assets. If the insurance company does not pay it, they have no assets, none at all. So if someone were to sue them and then go to trial and get a massive verdict, they're filing for bankruptcy. So that's the situation we're talking about.
So if you have insurance and you get into an accident and your insurance coverage pays out $500,000 max.
Yep.
And your insurance company says, nah, we're going to negotiate. Oh, we can't come to terms. People can come after you personally if your insurance company doesn't come through.
Absolutely.
And now all of a sudden you're drug into a court case.
And people think that the insurance company gets sued. That's not what happens. The individual in Missouri has to be sued, and that's what happens.
So
now,
in that mode, you in turn get sued. So you turn around and you sue back your own insurance company.
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah.
Without the insurance companies, there's no money sitting there. You got to find a wealthy person if you're going to file a suit against them. Otherwise, you've done nothing. How long is the longest suit that you were involved in?
Longest
Didn't you
suit.
do a federal case at some point?
I mean, yeah, we've had a few federal cases.
But in injury law,
I have a case now from 2013, and what happened?
You're still
you didn't take it in 2013.
I took it in 2014. Yeah.
Holy.
So for 7
crap.
years you've been working a case,
And they're begging to pay the case now, and here's why. The defendant was evading service, so we would send an investigator out there.
Don't give too much
process her.
information. If this
No, I
is a
won't.
living, breathing
No,
case
it's
now.
I'm not going to reveal anything that's
Okay,
going to. Yeah.
all right.
So what would happen is that the sheriff would go out there, and then the process server would go out there and say, "Hey, Mr. Such and Such, Mr. Bowman,
oh,
he'd say, "Yeah,
oh,
so
not
Mr.
Bradley, but me."
Yeah,
All right.
are you
No,
Tom Bowman?
I'm actually
Yeah.
Deputy Bradley.
Absolutely. So Deputy Bradley goes over to Mr. Bowman and says, "Hey, Tom Bowman? No, that's not me, man.
Nope, not me.
Not me.
Nope.
So for years, absolutely, so we're talking about it's 2021, right? 8 years.
Yep.
He's been evading service. Evading service.
All he has to say is, "It's not me."
Yeah, and here's what's interesting. No social media profiles. Nothing with the Department of Corrections. No photographs of this guy, right?
He's off the grid.
Off the grid. And usually they can take a photograph and say, "Oh, that's you, Mr. Bowman. That's you. You're served," right? They can do that. Couldn't do it with this case. I don't know what this guy finally came to his senses, and we kept the case active. We didn't give up on it. We just kept doing it. And the client's like, "Let's just give up." I was like, "No, I'm not going to give up on this thing." So we just
You're like pissed. I'm like,
we're like, because it pissed me off because he's lying, right?
Yeah.
He's a liar. And so eventually what happened was he had this, I think something happened in his life where he's like, I just got to get my stuff together, because he had a debt case against him where it was like a credit card case where he got sued. He accepted service on that. So we're like, okay, we have an opportunity now, because we've been monitoring it. And then finally we sent a guy out there and said, "You know what? You got this case in St. Louis County. Is this you?" And he said, "Yeah, it's me." So we got him served finally. And this actually was just like 3 months ago.
Good.
Wow.
God.
So where's it stand now?
I had a conference last week, and the attorney's begging to settle the case. It's a Geico case, and they're just begging to settle the case.
When it's Geico, do you have to? The lizard's not involved.
Do you subpoena
No,
the
the
lizard?
lizard is not involved.
All right,
No, not
just
at all.
checking.
No.
I think that'd be pretty cool, though. I'll be honest with
That
you.
would
Or
be
the
kinda-
caveman.
I barely remember the caveman.
But you remember SNL, the caveman lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just a caveman. I don't.
I'm just kidding.
Your
Let me go
machine
back to what I was
scared
going to bring up before, which came up immediately. Tom brought it up, which is you've got podcasts and other videos that you've done and posted online. You are very well spoken in today's modern world. You really are.
You're
Well,
not.
thank you.
You're not a caveman.
Not a caveman.
No, you do a nice job with it, and I think you boil it down to something most people can understand.
Yeah.
Well,
You do a nice
you
job.
asked early, like very, very early on in this interview. Was that
Oh, I'm sorry. Would
podcast?
you like me to read?
Was that-
Would you like me to
whatever-
read the record
whatever you
back
call
to
it.
you
No,
so
no.
you can quote
Is
him?
the redirect?
You said you made it sound like it was more about the law, like knowing the law. No, it's not. It's about people,
Yeah.
right? It's all
It's
about
poker.
People. It's
It's
poker. It's
poker.
people, right? It's
Yeah.
that's what makes a successful lawyer. Some of the best lawyers I know went to some law school you've never heard of.
But here's the thing. So I have a friend who I have breakfast with almost every Thursday, who was a sitting judge and is a lawyer and all that. And he told me the same thing that you're going to say, which is when you put that thing up on your wall, no one gives a shit where you went to law school. They just don't. They care about your reputation. They care about what you do for people. How will you represent me?
And how you make them feel when
Yeah,
they
that's
walk
True.
in,
Absolutely. Yeah.
which is a big
That's
part
what
of
it
it.
You're
is.
not a cookie cutter guy.
That's all it is.
I will say this, though. From a marketing standpoint, you're very, very smart. So you come up in my Facebook feed all the time. You tend to take things that you love personally and slide them into the injury side. So like you're a motorcycle rider like we are, right? You have a beautiful Indian motorcycle.
I would have encouraged you to get a Harley, but that's fine.
We
I mean,
tried,
that's,
but, you know,
that's-
I get it.
tried.
It's still
I mean, that's
American
all right.
made. I'm all
That's
right with
fine.
that. I
Sure.
mean, he can't keep up with us, but I get it.
That's
It's
fine.
It's very
always
quiet.
I like to wait at the corners for him.
Very quiet when he comes
He'll
into
be
the
here soon.
neighborhood. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
The
you-
dogs don't even chase.
No, they don't care. They're like,
Okay, maybe
oh,
we-
that's an Indian.
let's-
Never mind.
let's let it go.
Never
Let's let
mind.
it
That guy, whatever. But you've focused on motorcycle injury stuff because you are also a rider, so you understand that. So areas in your life that you like, you've sort of, like I would imagine now that you have a pool in your backyard. Did I mention he has a pool in his backyard?
Well, you really
Just a couple times.
Wait a
Did
second.
I mention that
he
was,
lives next to you?
He's
Yeah,
never
yeah.
been in it.
No, I've never been in it.
Not once.
No
Not once.
wonder he keeps mentioning it. Why aren't you inviting him over?
I
I
know,
have.
right?
He didn't come over.
You know,
Wow.
here's the nice thing they did though. He did it on the opposite side. He didn't do it on the shared
can't quite
fence
see
side of
you?
ours.
Uh-huh.
He put it on the other side, which was the best he could.
Because his wife is hot.
This is
Like,
planned
It's
out.
not about
I'm
his
not-
wife.
Yes, it was. He I'm
He
not putting
has
her right
lovely
here.
children who are really loud, and the fact that the pool is on that side of the yard and not on my side of the yard
That's
is
better.
amazing.
I think you should invite him over again.
So I guess the next question is, he's one of those guys. I guess the next question is, are you now doing stuff about, is your pool safe?
Not yet.
Did your builder not put in a fence or gate or whatever?
Not yet. We will though.
Pool safety.
Pool
It's-
safety.
It's summer.
Yeah.
How is your marketing person is really, really good.
You know, I think she
She-
might have done she might have done actually a pool safety.
She
one.
also shares your last name.
Yes, she.
And
yes,
I would say your bed. I don't know your situation, so let's go with
Yes,
that.
we're not 80, so we do share a bed.
Your bed. What?
I have
Hey,
friends
some
that-
people don't share beds.
I
man.
have friends who are our age who, to keep their marriage alive, don't sleep in the same bed.
You said our age, not his age.
Yeah. Well, I think he was looking at you.
Yeah,
He's-
no, I know, but I'm saying
He's
his,
an old soul.
He's still in the same bed with
He's
his
an old
wife.
soul. He hangs out with us.
Did I mention she's hot?
She's
Did
a
I
good-looking
mention
woman.
he has a pool and put her on the other side? Anyway. No,
By the way, you can see their pool from my deck. By the way,
I'll go up there and check
All
it out. Well, that thing.
We'll go swimming later.
those
Steve.
umbrellas that you put up didn't help.
No.
Tell me about
Nice touch, right?
That's
Umbrellas,
great. They look
yeah.
nice.
tell me about your future.
Yeah.
You're not family. The law firm. The what would you like to do with this thing?
We're probably headed towards a national practice. I had initially wanted a regional practice.
national
Yeah,
practice.
the way it's
We
growing.
need a national sponsor on this show.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
found one. He lives next door with a pool.
So the original plan was to have a regional practice where is basically Midwest, because I don't want to be a Morgan & Morgan. Like Morgan & Morgan is coming into town. They're from Florida.
Who's that?
They're like a massive firm, right?
Hundreds of attorneys.
Yes.
How many of
hundreds,
the how many of the TV attorneys that we see on our local channels here are actually here in Columbia? 10%?
No, actually, the ones you see, there's only one that I think is not. No.
No, that Beetle and Beetle bullshit.
That's what I was thinking. Tolbert and Beetle.
Tolbert and Beetle?
Whatever the
Yeah.
hell that is.
It's a beat.
They used a great
Yeah,
character
yes,
actor as
yeah.
their guy.
Yeah.
Like you knew his face but not his name.
They're a national firm. There's the guy from Springfield that is not local.
There's a big giant one that's up not by over by like where the mall is, right? They're on
Right.
the corner there.
Yep.
Is that local?
He's local. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's actually a good guy. I mean, I'm pretty honest about this. Like he's a good guy.
But
I actually
but
like
the
him.
big ones, when you mentioned the Beetle one,
Yeah.
right? How many lawyers are in that firm?
I don't think that they are an actual firm. I think that they're a marketing firm where what they do is they bring in the cases and then refer them out. They're a lead gen firm, is what they are.
So I'm thinking about like John. I'm a big John Grisham fan, right? And he
I love-
writes about
yeah,
the
I
law
love
because
John, yeah,
Grisham was
yeah,
a lawyer. And I think about some of those stories, and how they've done these national cases. And then the other one is, God, I can't remember her name for the life of me. There's a TV show that's on now that's called Rebel. That's a network show that's sort of based after her. She wasn't a lawyer, but she started working for a lawyer. They had bad water in Southern California. I forget what her name is off the top of my head.
Something like Aaron Brockovich?
Aaron Brockovich,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
those
There you
kind of
go.
so Aaron Brockovich led to one of those big type cases. But you're not really involved in that per se. You're kind
Those
of
are called
one-on-one
mass torts. That's what those are called.
mass
right?
torts.
Mass
torts.
torts.
Torts. What are
and
torts?
Torts is like a negligence case. It's a car crash. It's a civil wrong. Okay, there we go.
Torts. We're drinking torts.
I thought you knew torts.
I did, but it's
So
still
like
a $7 word.
compared to this, like a criminal case, like a criminal wrong, a tort is like a civil wrong.
Okay.
It's like the opposite side of it.
Right.
That's what it is. So
But you don't do that.
we have some, but the problem with those is that you've got to get a bunch of them. It's like a volume thing, and so you
And
have
it
to
takes
spend
a
ton of money.
long
Not necessarily.
time, right?
Not necessarily.
No?
So, have you heard like the Johnson & Johnson case, like the talcum powder,
Oh my
baby
God!
powder?
Cervical cancer?
It's shocking, right?
Oh my! It's off the charts, and the billions of dollars.
So I knew about that So I guess you're probably right. I knew about this like 7 years ago,
Yeah.
and I laughed at it. I was like, "Yeah, what are you talking about? What are you like?"
Good luck.
Yeah, Jim Onder is a lawyer in St. Louis. His brother Bob Onder, who's a state rep, who's either state rep or state senator, who's also a doctor, he actually turned Jim on to it. Said, "Hey, I'm seeing a lot of this stuff with this baby powder stuff, right?"
Right.
And so it usually starts with something like that, but then you have to get a bunch of these cases together, and then you have to file suit on it. It's a class action. And then, so we don't do stuff like that because it does take a lot of time. It takes millions of dollars for some of these cases. I mean, you're talking about like it's a bunch of money.
Investing millions of dollars.
Yeah,
Right.
and you may get nothing.
To get. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many mass torts firms go under every single year because
They're trying to
they picked the wrong one.
they're trying for a grand slam.
Yeah.
That's a high gamble situation.
Yeah, no
going
kidding.
on.
All right, so you have an office here.
Yep.
You have an office in St. Louis.
Yep.
Right? So you're not quite all local, right? You're back and forth. How many attorneys are now under the Mutrux law firm umbrella?
4 lawyers.
Okay.
We have about 20 people. I think we're at 22 is what we're at.
Because you don't necessarily have to be a lawyer to really help the case be successful. There's a lot of people that are in your firm that help research and all sorts of other things that go with it, keeping the clients involved, all of that. Great cover. And, a really good lawyer talks to his clients on a regular basis. I can't tell you how important that is, that a lawyer calls you on a regular basis.
Do you know this from a personal experience?
Apparently somebody left you hanging.
It wasn't this guy.
So
Oh, that's not good.
what do you think our average callback time, not callback time, what our average communication timeline is for
I
a
know
client?
what your email says when I shoot you emails.
Okay, well that's different. Like internally, what is our goal for how often we communicate with clients?
I'd say at least once a week.
It's
I
actually
don't know.
that's overshooting it. I'll say.
But what you're asking is like, if you are working a case for 2.5 years, how often will you
How
talk
often do
to
we
them?
communicate with a client on average? Yeah,
I don't know.
10 days.
it's actually 14.
All right, that's fair.
So our goal is every 14 days we have a communication, text, email.
Whether you have something new or not.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to touch base. Here's
So
where
you
we
looked
are.
at it and you said people, by the time they get to 35 days, they're pissed as hell.
Not even, no, it's actually, we looked at case values, right? So what we saw was if we're communicating with clients every 2 weeks, they don't drop off the radar. They're not like missing doctor's appointments, things like that. They're not just, falling off the face of the earth. Right. It increases the case value. And that also it also increases client satisfaction as well.
But if you drop it down to 3 weeks or 4 weeks between,
the case value goes down.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so as we start to run out of time, we're getting into that sweet spot of time. Let me
See, I can talk about this stuff all day.
I know, and
yeah.
we could bring you back on another show.
Oh yeah,
I'd
no.
love to.
I think you will be a regular contributor. By the way, this is show number 25. In case you were wondering, that's a
good
nice
five. It's
a good
round
number.
I like that. It's a good number.
25 shows.
Let's drink to that.
So
Can we drink to
cheers.
that?
Drink to
Oh,
25.
cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, can we
There's
cheers
no
this
more.
time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there no more
okay,
left in your bottle?
Come here. There you go.
I haven't
fine.
topped off yet.
That's good.
All right. So we have people in 30, 40 states that catch the show either on podcast or as a video. Once again, as a podcast, go subscribe. I can't tell you how important it is to subscribe because on Thursday mornings we release it early and you'll have it for your commute. If you're watching it on Facebook, make sure you hit follow, not just like, follow. That way you know when we put up new videos.
Right.
And we're on YouTube.
We're there for you.
And
Go-
on
go
YouTube,
there.
what should they do on YouTube?
They just subscribe on YouTube.
Absolutely.
All right, so for those that are thinking they're all over the country, they got in a weird fender bender or they got burned by a piece of equipment or blah, 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 what's the first step for them to make sure, one, they're getting the right kind of injury attorney, that they're finding somebody who's going to support their needs? How do you go about this? What's the best step?
It's not where you think. It's getting the treatment you need. It all like people think, oh, call a lawyer right away. No, go to the freaking doctor. Like go and get
Have documentation.
Yes,
though.
document your freaking
Right.
injuries because people will like people like Tom Bradley or Tom Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably sit around for 2 weeks. Oh, I'll stretch this out. I'll tough it
So
out.
it's like my day every day.
Yeah. Like I'll be okay. And then like 3 weeks later, you're like, man, this is not going away.
Right.
Like
Whiplash doesn't happen overnight.
no, it's something that, and like sometimes you get a tear. I can't tell you how many clients I've had like have tears. They've got fractures of their spine. They're walking around just trying to stretch it out, tough it out, and they got a freaking fracture in their spine.
That's
Like,
what I would do.
all
That
the
sounds
time.
like
Yes.
Let me just bring that
Yes.
thing. Come here. You know, pop a back, pop my back.
Step
Pop
on my back. Step on my back.
Step
Make
on
the
it.
fracture worse.
Yeah.
Also, don't trust what. Let's say it's a car crash. Don't trust what the person's telling you. Like, get a police report. Like,
Yeah.
don't be like, oh, this is a parking lot. Let's pull over the parking lot. Let's exchange information.
Well, if
Yeah.
I get their driver's license and the license plate, and I take a picture of them,
Yep.
have I done a lot and enough?
You've done a lot, but I've seen people where they've had someone else's license,
Yeah.
and they've given that instead of
Who are
their
these
own.
people?
It's insane, right? So
Right.
that's great advice, right? Take pictures of all that, but call the police out. Have the police come out. The city of Columbia is a weird beast, right? They send this like CSAs out, right, where they're not actual
Crime
police.
scene.
What are they called? Like
assistance?
community service.
Community service is what it is. But wait a second, back up for a second. If it's a fender bender, there's no injury at all.
Okay, no injury. Okay.
For that thing, the pictures would be fine. But if it's a pretty major accident, I better get police personnel out there.
Absolutely. If there's any indication that there might be some injury of at all, you need to have the police come.
And I had somebody hit my bumper years ago, and I was in a really, really small pickup, nothing behind the seat except the window.
Ooh.
So, I was fine.
Did you hit your?
Still have some ticks now and then. And well, yeah, I hit the back of the window with my head. And I get out and I go, "There's nothing wrong. It's an old frickin' truck over here. You're okay. Don't
Yeah,
worry
give me
about it."
$50. We're good.
I realized an hour later, I'm like, I think I've got a concussion. Now, I didn't need to do anything, but that's an example of
No,
you
it
better
explains
be
a
careful.
lot, though.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and so
As I pour some more.
yes, so there are two things that are massively overlooked. It's brain injuries because you called it concussion, right?
yeah.
But we gloss over when you say concussion. It's a brain injury. I mean, it is a freaking brain injury.
Right. Would you
Your
like to take
brain
this
is
case?
yes, your brain is
30
rattling
years
inside
old.
of your freaking skull.
I
right?
know.
The other thing is getting an MRI, because what happened used to be back in the day, like so I'm talking about 10 years ago. What would happen is you wouldn't get an MRI right away. You'd wait 9 months. Finally, you'd get the MRI, and be like, oh my gosh, I've got something seriously wrong with me. Well, then the insurance company would be like, well, it was 9 months later.
9 months.
Oh,
What,
yeah.
what did you
Oh,
do in
yeah.
the last 9 months? Maybe you bungee jumped.
Absolutely.
We don't know.
So we always we require all of our clients first couple months MRI.
Right.
You have to get the MRI.
As soon as they talk to you, you're
Yes.
going to say, have you had an
We're getting it
MRI?
scheduled.
All right.
Yeah,
so
we're getting
you
it scheduled.
you go through the phone book. You Google lawyer my town. You find the first one who's got an ad up top. By the way, they pay to be up at the very
course
top.
they do,
Just
yeah.
telling you right now. You probably are the first. If I search lawyer Columbia, you probably right near
Probably
the top.
not. If in the organic, yeah, but not for the paid.
All right.
Yeah.
What's the thing that's you're going to hear on the other side that makes you go, nope, I'm going to hang up?
Oh, if you ask, when's the last time you tried a case, and it's been like the COVID's weird, right?
Let's
in a
but even
normal
better.
year.
What are the questions? Give me 3 questions that somebody needs to ask when they call.
When's the last time you
an
tried a
attorney.
case?
Okay.
Like,
Number 1.
that's number one.
They do need to ask you that.
Yeah. When's the last time
Tried
you
or
tried a
settled?
case? Tried it. No. When's the last time you tried a case?
Okay.
Because and by the way, set COVID aside for a second. Like,
Sure.
Like because that's a little bit different. 'Cause
No,
no
COVID
one's
was a-
friggin' tried a case.
COVID was a
yeah,
mess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but in a normal year, when's the last time you tried a case? Because you haven't tried a case in the last 6 months.
Right.
Insurance companies are not offering you money, right? That's just not
The
how-
threat
yeah.
of going to trial is what
it's a
leads to
yeah,
a settlement.
absolutely.
Okay.
What else would I ask? That's a good question. So 2 other questions.
How
I'm
often will
gonna-
we talk?
I'm going to drink to that, by the way. That's a good question. Thank you.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
We'll take it.
Nice
All right.
question. All right.
Plus, I only have this sip left, and then
That was smart because you let me think about this for a second.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Who's going to handle my case? That's going to be like the next one probably is like, are you handling my case or is someone else handling my case?
Because when you call a law firm, you have no idea.
You have no idea.
So you need to ask.
yeah,
Yep.
law assistant.
Yep.
What do they call a law assistant?
Paralegal.
Thank you.
Yeah, paralegal. Yep. And we have teams. So each we have called they're
What does
called pods.
paralegal mean? Does that mean part legal?
A paratrooper is not the assistant to a trooper. They actually parachute.
Right.
So
a
paralegal parachutes.
parachutes in to do the job.
Yeah, it's you nailed it. It's exactly
there
right.
we go.
But we actually have teams. So if you have a case, like we have pods. They're teams, right? We call them
Okay.
pods. So they're made up of a legal assistant, a paralegal, an attorney, and a medical tech, and then an investigation tech is what they're called. So. And so you might talk to any one of those people, but you want to know who's like in charge of the case.
You know, he put a pool in last year, right? Did you hear all this shit?
Yeah.
Talks about that.
So you're going to want to know who's actually handling the case. So I'd say that's number 2. And then I don't know if you'd want to know like average case value because that's not. I mean, it's so case dependent.
Right.
Communication policy would be good.
All right. So
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
how
that's
often
a-
are you
that's
going
a
to
good one.
communicate? When's the last time you tried a case?
And then who's going to handle the
And
case?
who's going to handle
Yeah.
my case? So those are the 3 things that are very, 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 very important.
Number 1, by the way, not to cut you off, but number 1 by far.
I'm sorry, I had the floor.
Yes.
You,
Yes.
Listen, you can redirect when it's your
I'm
turn.
just you
Wow.
know,
Yeah, he's right.
Giving a dose of
He's
his own
right.
medicine. Yeah.
Counselor.
Jesus.
Hey, a distance.
I object.
Yes.
I don't know why, but
Number
I object.
1 by far is when's the last time you tried a case? But
Got
it's not even close when it comes
All right,
to
before you hit that
That
music,
could almost you could almost turn that into a dating thing.
I think so.
You know, when's the last time you finished a case, or you know what I'm saying? When's the last
Are
time
you?
you completed a case?
How often are you going to be calling me? And are you the one that's going to be
See?
servicing me?
I think on that one, I am hitting. the
Hey,
music.
listen, we're going to have him on again. If you have questions for the lawyer,
Yeah.
tomsworldbeertour@gmail.com. Send us your questions, and we'll save them for when he comes on again.
We could start a new podcast, which is let's drink and ask the lawyer questions, sort of a thing.
I think it's great.
Question the lawyer.
Speaking of which, by the way, great conversational beer.
it was very good.
a
good beer.
dark stout
Very good.
IPA. Are you shitting me? I've never seen this
Very
before.
good.
Very good stuff.
Phenomenal. Thank you, Boulevard. That's
that
great.
was fun. I liked it. I learned a lot. Tyson Mutrux, appreciate that.
Thanks, brother.
Let's keep drinking just a little bit.
This has been a podcast story. Tom's World Beer Tour. For future episodes, download and subscribe where you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart, and Amazon Music. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Or send us an email at tomsworldbeertour@gmail.com. All content property of Tom's World Beer Tour, copyright 2021. No beer was harmed during this production. Only consumed.